Hello and welcome to Supposedly Fun. My name is Greg and I am here today to give you some book-related gift ideas for the person in your life who likes books, if you have one. And I'm obviously doing this in December, so it's timed for the holidays. However, just as a quick little PSA, I have tried to keep away from holiday-specific things. So if you are looking for a gift idea for like a birthday or any other time of year, or you just want to do something nice for someone who loves books in your life, hopefully these will still be relevant. I am also trying to avoid particularly timely bookish gift ideas. So hopefully, even if you're watching this video many years in the future, it will still be relatively recent or topical or relevant or any of that stuff. And I have a couple of different ways of thinking about this. They are kind of inspired by things that I would like to get as a bookish person, but hopefully they translate to the person in your life, or at least will give you something of a springboard for an idea for yourself. Obviously, at this time of year, if you are doing this for the holidays, timing is a little tight, so you might want to order quickly, or you might have to save some of these ideas for next year or for like a birthday or anything like that. I would also just quickly give a little PSA and say any of the actual book things or things you could get from a bookstore, I would encourage you to get from an independent bookstore near you. If you don't have an independent bookstore near you, bookshop.org is great. I just always like to encourage people to support independent bookstores whenever possible and keep them as part of your community because they do good things and I would like them to stick around. So that's just my little PSA about that. Let's dive in. The first thing I want to talk about is gift cards. People hate on gift cards and don't like to give gift cards. However, people do like to get gift cards. I was actually listening to NPR's Up First podcast in the week leading up to Thanksgiving because they were talking about Black Friday and speculating about whether or not it was going to be a big year. And they actually mentioned that in consumer studies, an overwhelming majority of people prefer getting gift cards because then they can spend the money however they see fit. So if you want to get someone who loves books a gift card to an independent bookstore, don't feel bad. So many times people tell me, well, I don't know what to get you, but I don't want to get you a gift card. Well, get me a gift card. It would thrill me to be able to go to an independent bookstore. My favorite is Montana Book Company, and just shop. With a gift card, I might even be able to do something that I kind of like to do, but don't always have the extra finances to do, which is ask a bookseller, like, what's a book that you would recommend for me? I love doing that. And sometimes when you have a little bit of like bonus money, you can do that, and it's fun. But I get to choose how I spend it myself, which is great. And if you have an idea for a book, that's great. But what ends up happening a lot of the time is people don't want to buy me a book because they don't know if I already have it. They don't know if I've already read it. They don't know if I want to read it. A gift card is a really great way of getting around that, and then people feel bad because, you know, there is a number attached to it, but then you feel like you need to get something to go with it. Don't. It's fine. Like if somebody just gave me a gift card, I would be thrilled. I would be really happy and excited to get to a bookstore and spend it. So just a quick little PSA, a gift card is a quick and easy solution for the book lover in your life. And if they're anything like me, they would be absolutely thrilled to get it. As someone who loves books, I have to sort of carefully budget and think about what I actually want to spend money on. So if you give me a gift card, it gives me free rein to go purchase some of the things that I have been excited about or wanting and haven't been able to do. So if you have a book lover in your life and don't know what to get them, don't know what they've read, don't know what they own, consider a gift card. It's so simple. It's so easy. People don't want to do it, but it's a great gift. Let's go to the next thing. Etsy can actually be your best friend because if you know some of the books or things that your book lover in your life likes, you can find a lot of really cool things. You could also research t-shirts, just moving away from Etsy, because if you know if they have like a favorite author who's like a known favorite author, you could look for like t-shirts that have Toni Morrison or James Baldwin or quotes from those books. Definitely look up their favorite author and see if you could get like t-shirts or things like that. I love book-related t-shirts. We're going to come around to that later. But Etsy fills a very similar thing. So if you know that somebody likes a particular book or series, just type in the author or the title of the book into Etsy and you could find a whole bunch of results. For instance, if you know someone who likes books who is really into Sarah J. Maas, you can find t-shirts, mugs, maps, all manner of things inspired by her books. And it doesn't have to be directly inspired. Like when I mentioned t-shirts, it could have a cover of a book they really like. A lot of the Sarah J. Maas stuff, because I used her as a sort of test case and typed her name into Etsy, a lot of the stuff is, for instance, it could be a mug that's for a company that is mentioned in a book, or a map that comes from it, something that fans of the book will really know and appreciate, and maybe I wouldn't immediately recognize because I haven't really read any of her books. But so if you know someone who is a fan of a particular series or author who is pretty popular, you can find a lot of really unique gifts related to that, particularly on Etsy. But, you know, just use a search engine and you can try that way as well. But Etsy is a great resource for that. And you can support people who are on BookTube at the same time, because Carolyn Marie Reads, who has a BookTube channel, I'll link her Etsy shop down below. She has a lot of really cool bookish stuff on her Etsy page. And I was gifted this piece of artwork inspired by Call Me By Your Name, which is one of my favorite books. And it's absolutely lovely. So if you know some of the person's favorite authors, favorite books, you can find a lot of stuff. And I like this so much that my original thought was I wanted to have it in the library, but I like it so much, and it's one of my favorite books, and it's one of Joel's favorite books, that we actually display it in our living room, which is really cool. And I don't know if you can see it, but I also have a Kurt Vonnegut from the same store on my library shelf back here, because Kurt Vonnegut is one of my favorite authors. So you can check out Carolyn Marie Reads and her store for more ideas like that. You can also find people who do custom book spine art. If you've ever seen one of those like postcards or things where they're just spines of books, there are people who will sell ones that are sort of pre-made, but you can also tell them books that you will like. There might be a bit of time required into this, so think ahead. That's great. But if you know some of their favorite books, you can have book spine art made that would feature those books. And that's something that I know I would be really excited to have in my house. I also saw a page on Etsy that sells sort of gallery wall art. So if you see those sort of collages of photos on someone's wall, they will sort of give you all the things to put one of those together, and they're all book related. It will have quotes from books, illustrations of books, and things like that. I'll link to a specific one down below. There were not a lot left. So again, that's where timing is going to come into this. And I will say, if the particular thing that you want to get is sold out already, or they are going to be unable to get it to you in time for the holidays, if that's what this is for, because, you know, Hanukkah is going to be starting this week. Christmas is coming. Think about like a birthday instead, or you can plan ahead for next year. But you can find some really cool stuff on Etsy that will delight the book lover in your life, especially if you have some key pieces of information like their favorite author or some books that they like. So definitely you can get a lot out of that. The next thing we can talk about is gift books. And I think when people think about gift books, they immediately go to those really big, heavy photography or art books, and certainly those are wonderful gifts, but that is not the extent of gift books. You can find all different kinds of gift books, and certainly ones that will pique the interest of the book lover in your life. For instance, something that I've had my eye on for a really long time is the New York Times 125 years of the book review. They did a special compilation celebrating 125 years of the book review with little bits of history, reviews, and things like that. And I've had my eye on it for a long time. That would be like a fantastic gift idea for the book lover in your life. You can also get a little bit more specific with some of these things. For example, if you know me, you know that I am really fascinated by the Academy Awards, in addition to all of my book loving habits. So I kind of collect gift books, like big coffee table books about the Oscars. And it doesn't have to be specifically about the Oscars, like this one here, which is And the Oscar Goes to the Academy Awards, The Complete History of Oscar, up to the point in which this book was published, which is now over a decade ago, but it was a fantastic thing that I actually bought for myself. And, I would, even out of date, it's something that I occasionally like to pick up and peruse. I also have some coffee table books related to the fashion of the Oscars. Like, this is the complete book of Oscar fashion, Variety's 75 Years of Glamour on the Red Carpet. I love it. And again, they're well past 75 years at this point, but it's just a fun coffee table book that I can occasionally flip through and have fun with, even though it is now a little out of date. In specific cases, you can also think about whether or not there has been something that the book lover in your life has really loved that has been adapted either as a film or as a movie musical or a musical on Broadway, because usually when that happens, or sometimes when that happens, depending on the budget and scale of the project, there can be companion pieces. I'm not talking about movie tie-ins. Here's an example. Joel and I read and loved The Day the World Came to Town, which is about what happened in the town of Gander, Newfoundland after 9/11. And it's a really beautiful, wonderful story. And we went to see the musical Come From Away, which has this really wonderful gift book attachment. And I bought it for Joel after we saw the musical. So now we have this living on our coffee table. It has little photos from Gander from the time. It has the text of the musical and photographs of the show. And it also has little bits of like backstory and the making of it and things about the cast. It's really wonderful. I actually tried to get Joel the same book for Moulin Rouge because Joel loves Moulin Rouge. We went to see the Broadway adaptation of Moulin Rouge when we were in New York last year, and Joel's birthday is in February, so I tried to order a copy. It was back ordered. It never actually came. But it would have been a fantastic gift based on a property that he loves that was adapted into a musical, and the same is true of Come From Away. Sometimes you can find books about the making of a movie as well, or if there's a particular director that they really love, you can also find a lot about. Like, if they are a huge Martin Scorsese fan, there are a lot of Martin Scorsese books out there, but specifically thinking of like gift coffee table books, something like this could be really wonderful, especially if you're really going all out and buying them a ticket to a property like this. Or you could also have like a date night attachment, because buying a ticket and going out to see a show, it can be dependent on a lot of things. Your location, the touring schedule can get expensive as well. But Come From Away is also on Apple TV. So even if you're not going to be able to see the show itself, you could sort of tie it in with a sort of date night idea where you go to dinner and then you can come home and watch Come From Away and enjoy the book as well, which I think would be a really cute idea. Your mileage may vary. But as I said, gift books, coffee table books don't have to be serious at all. There are all manner of funny, humorous, quirky gift books or coffee table books out there. This is actually something that I bought for my sister this year after I saw it on Jen the Librarian's channel. It's Museum Bums, a cheeky look at art by Mark Small and Jack Shoulder. This is an extension of a social media account that really took off. So my sister loves taking her daughters to museums. They live in New York City, so they are constantly going to museums. And one way when they were young, she would sort of get them involved, or just like a funny way of doing it was to kind of giggle at all the butts in all of the art that was around them. So I saw this on Jen the Librarian's channel, and I immediately had to order it to give it to my sister. I haven't mailed it to her yet because we just got the rest of the gifts for my nieces, so it's all going together. But like, what a perfect gift for her. But also, without that story about my sister, it's still a really funny book. And it's actually not that expensive. It's $19.95 in the US. So not bad, not going to break your budget. And just a really fun thing that people can keep out and laugh at. And I'm not going to open it up right now, but it is really funny inside. I kind of want to get a copy for myself as well. And about a year ago, Doris from Aldi Books actually sent me a copy of Effin' Birds, A Field Guide to Identification by Aaron Reynolds. If you're unfamiliar with Effin' Birds, basically he does wall calendars, desk calendars, mugs, t-shirts, all manner of things with rude birds who curse a lot. And it's really very funny. This also lives on our coffee table and is absolutely a delight. And if none of these gift books or coffee table books have spoken to you, here's a pro tip. Go to your local independent bookstore. I know it can be really easy to fall into this trap where you just Google gift ideas, and you can try to drive yourself nuts, because if you don't know what you're looking for, it can be really hard to find it. But if the idea of a gift book, whether it be quirky or funny or anything like that, appeals to you, go into your local independent bookstore. Because one thing independent bookstores are really great at, which is why I love supporting them and recommend keeping them part of your community, they are so good at identifying things like that and just funny, quirky things that will appeal to a lot of different people, and having them in the store, especially at this time of year. So go into your local independent bookstore, look at some of the gift sections that they have out at this time of year. They probably have tables or displays with gift ideas, and see if you find anything. If you don't see something that immediately jumps out to you, talk to one of the booksellers, and they might ask some questions about the person that you're shopping for. But I have had great luck talking to people at independent bookstores about needing gift ideas, and have been pointed in the direction of things like those books before. I totally recommend it, because those make wonderful gifts, but sometimes you just need that inspiration. And again, I feel like a lot of the time, if you search for things online, it can feel easy because you do it from home on your own time. You can sort of cram it in between things you're doing for work or life or whatever. But sometimes it really helps to go to an expert and people who are really good at curating great gift ideas for you. And independent bookstores can be wonderful for that. Hi, Editing Greg is just jumping in to sort of hammer in a point that I don't think I did a particularly great job hammering in, which is that the reason I'm saying gift books instead of coffee table books is that when people hear terms like gift books or coffee table books, they hear big, heavy, expensive, and that is not what a gift book needs to be at all. And I pulled two other books that are kind of an example of this, and another way of hammering in how good independent bookstores are at curating collections for you to choose from, because these are both books that Joel and I discovered entirely because of independent bookstores that had them on displays. First is Your Guide to Not Getting Murdered in a Quaint English Village by Maureen Johnson and Jay Cooper. This is something that was just on display when we walked into a bookstore in Frisco, Colorado. And it is a delight. It's really funny. It's fun to flip through. We keep this on our coffee table, and it's just a lot of fun. So again, gift book does not have to mean big, heavy, and expensive. This is $16.99, and that's not bad at all. Also, QT, The Queeriotic Table, a celebration of LGBTQ plus culture by Harriet Dyer. And we had been kind of looking for something that would just be like quick examples or explanations of queer people and ideas. And this is another thing we keep on our coffee table. And this is $13.99 in the US. So again, gift books don't have to be big, heavy, and expensive. They can be fun, quirky, and delightful. And another thing that I want to mention is you can always get a notebook if you know someone who is going to be doing any traveling. Joel and I picked up this notebook at Montana Book Company when we were going to Italy, because we wanted to sort of keep a diary of what we did, what we ate, and all of that. So if you know someone who's going to be traveling, this is another thing that would be a good idea. And I think we had the idea of a notebook, and then we were in Montana Book Company, and it was kind of like right there. So we snatched it up. So I just wanted to add that back to the rest of the video. If you want to think practically for the book lover in your life, especially if they are part of a couple, you could do something like a booklight. So I actually have this booklight from Glocascent, and it is really wonderful. I used to have one of those clip ones that went on the headboard of the bed next to me. So if Joel wanted to go to bed and I wanted to read, I would just kind of turn it on and read, and it worked fine. However, it had one of those little tiny like lithium batteries, the little discs, and the battery was constantly running out. So it would start getting dim, which would kind of hurt my eyes. And this one actually lasts a long time. It doesn't use those little batteries. It has one of those USB chargers. I actually have the cord right here. So you use this thing to charge it, which is actually really cool. And it holds a charge for a long time. So I have the one that fits over your neck, but they also have those like kind of clip ones. So this is a little silly, but it works perfectly because it just sits over your neck, points at the book while you are in bed reading, and it's a delight. It has different settings and temperatures that you can use. I have been using this for about 3 weeks now, and I have really liked it. So this is the box of the one that I have. Now, full disclosure, they did send this to me asking if I would use it and see if I like it. However, I feel very confident giving this an endorsement. So you can see Glucoscent upgraded night reading light, and it just fits over your neck. I have really liked using it, so I feel like it's a pretty safe bet to say that the book lover in your life might like this as well, especially if they have a partner or spouse or anything like that and are concerned about it, because again, Joel always says, oh, I don't mind it if you leave the lamp on your night table on, but I feel like I'm bothering him. So this has been sort of a lifesaver for that. And again, if you want to kind of think practically for the book lover in your life, that could be a good option. I'm going to have a link to the Glucoscent website down below. You can buy directly from them, or you can find other retailers for that. Moving along. You could also do bookstore t-shirts. I am wearing a t-shirt that I got from Boulder Bookstore in Colorado. Absolutely love it. I collect bookstore t-shirts. And one thing I have noticed from people who watch my channel, which, is overwhelmingly book people, because if you don't like books, I don't really know what you're going to find on my channel to listen to. And I am consistently getting comments about the t-shirts that I wear, many of which actually come from bookstores. So I got this one from Boulder Bookstore when Joel and I were in Colorado, but it doesn't even have to be a bookstore that I have ever been to. A good friend of mine went to Portland. I've never been to Portland. He got me a t-shirt from Powell's. It's one of my favorite t-shirts. And I would love to go to Powell's someday. It's on my bookstore bucket list. Yes, I have a bookstore bucket list. And it's a delight. I also have a t-shirt from the Raven Bookstore in Lawrence, Kansas. Never been there, just like the store, and they have really great t-shirts. I have one from Flint Hills Bookstore in Kansas. And I also have this, which doesn't immediately seem like a bookstore t-shirt, which is another reason these can be kind of fun. It says, "Only Pride, No Prejudice." And right here, Betty's Pages, which is a bookstore in Lowell, Michigan. So again, it doesn't have to be a bookstore that the person has been to or that the person likes. If you live in a different area from them, get them a t-shirt from your favorite bookstore. Maybe like a bookmark and some fun store merchandise to go with. I have all of my bookmarks displayed on this little corkboard in my room. So a lot of the time, if I order from a bookstore that I haven't been to, I will ask them, please make sure you send me a bookmark, and then I can add it to my collection. So again, I've never been to the Raven Bookstore, but I have this wonderful bookmark from them that I use a fair amount. So bookstore t-shirts are a delight, an absolute delight. I love them. And they don't even have to be specifically about the shirt. Like this is a t-shirt that you could look at and not know that it relates to a bookstore. However, it's a cool t-shirt, and Only Pride, No Prejudice has that really fun design, and then just kind of quite like sneaky bookstore attachment to it. So that is quite fun. You could also get the book lover in your life foreign editions of favorite books of theirs or rare editions of books that they love. So when Joel and I went to Italy, did you know that Joel and I went to Italy? This is a running joke on the channel because Joel and I love to, kind of brag about how we went. Some of these souvenirs that we brought home were Italian editions of books that we love. That we have Maurice by E.M. Forster. I just loved this edition of The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and Beloved by Toni Morrison, and Call Me by Your Name by Andre Osman. So we have these displayed out in our living room as well. I don't read Italian, but I love having these as souvenirs. And Charlie, who is one of the co-owners of Montana Book Company, again, my favorite bookstore, collects editions of The Handmaid's Tale. So while we were in Italy, we got an Italian edition of The Handmaid's Tale, brought it back, gave it to them as a gift, and they were absolutely delighted. We actually had a layover in Paris as well and got a French edition of The Handmaid's Tale and gave that to Charlie, and they were absolutely delighted. I know Erica from The Broken Spine loves Jane Eyre and collects different editions of that book. So if the book lover in your life has a book like that, definitely get them. It doesn't have to be a different language edition, but it could just be a fun or interesting edition of the book. Could be a kind of rare edition. And you don't have to break the bank on these. So if you follow along, I love these Franklin Library editions of Pulitzer books. they can run very expensive if you look online. And again, this is where, because there's a time crunch for the holidays this year, this might be something you'd have to think about for the future. But if you keep an eye out and look, I found many of these for like $20 or $25 plus shipping. And I have an entire collection of them now, and they are gorgeous. And this is The Bridge of Stanley Ray by Thornton Wilder. So you can find gorgeous editions of books, like especially classics, if there is one that they like. These are just gorgeously illustrated, and you can absolutely use these as gifts, because who wouldn't love to have these? I also have this Peebles Classic Library edition of Pride and Prejudice, which is not as sexy as a Franklin Library edition. It doesn't have the illustrations. However, it's a very pretty edition of a book that I like. And it's just kind of fun to have that on my shelf compared to a cheap paperback. Because a lot of the time, classics, because there's no copyright on them, they can look a little bit cheap depending on the edition that you have in paperback. So nice editions of classic books that they love, or just books that they love, are always wonderful. And it doesn't even have to be a book that they would particularly, that means something particular to them. I saw this in a used bookstore earlier this year. It's John Steinbeck's Travels with Charlie. Now, I've read a couple of John Steinbeck books and I love them. I don't have any immediate connection to this book. However, this is one of my favorite book purchases of the year. And if someone had given it to me as a gift, I would have been absolutely delighted, even though I've never read the book, because look at this beautiful edition, this cover. There's an illustration of John Steinbeck and his poodle Charlie, which is kind of repeated on the back. There's a photo of John Steinbeck and an illustration of Charlie. And I'm going to very carefully remove the dust jacket for a moment to show you what lies beneath. And the cover of the book, again, has that illustration of Charlie, and the end papers are just absolute delights. So it doesn't even have to be a particular book that this person in your life would like. It could just be a really cool edition of like a classic book, or maybe something that they would want to read, or just something that they'd have fun keeping on their shelf. Fun or rare editions of a book are just always a really great find. And I just want to hammer in, it doesn't have to be something that the person has ever read before. I have never read Miracle on 34th Street by Valentine Davies, but someone gave this to me about 10 years ago because they said, well, I know you love the holidays and I know you love to read, and I was in an antique store and they had this, so I figured I would just give it to you. And even though I have still never read Miracle on 34th Street, I keep this on my desk because I just think it's so fun and pretty. And yes, I do love the holidays. And yes, I do also love books. That makes it pretty perfect. So it was an absolutely wonderful gift. And of course, you can think about signed editions. It could be signed editions of classic books if you can find them. You can always manage to find these things for surprisingly cheap. The condition might not be great, but hopefully, depending on the way it looks, the condition doesn't matter as much as the fact that it would be signed. You could think about rare editions, special editions, signed editions, first editions, all varying in terms of price point. But again, it doesn't have to be anything expensive. It doesn't have to be anything that they have even read themselves. It could just be something that you saw and made you think of them. And again, in this case in particular, it worked out really well. And I guess the final thing to note is that I think a lot of people get in their head about giving a book lover a gift because you always think in terms of the person that you are giving the gift to, which is great. So a lot of the time what I hear is people don't want to buy me a gift because they don't know what I want. They don't know what I already own. They don't know what I've read. Here's what I'll say. I am always fascinated by books that other people like. So if you give me a book that you love, that means something too. And it means something to me because you're sharing a part of yourself and something that you like. So I've mentioned Call Me By Your Name a couple of times. And I think my history with that book is that on one of my first dates with Joel, we were talking about how I love books, and he asked if I had read Call Me By Your Name, and I hadn't. We stopped into a bookstore and he bought me a copy of the book. And I still have it. It's actually on my shelf. I didn't pull it for this because I kind of didn't expect to tell this story. But he shared a book that he loved with me, and I read it, and I ended up loving it too. And it definitely gave us something to talk about in those early dates, because then I read it and we ended up talking about it on another date after that, and it was really great. But I just am always fascinated by the books that other people like. So if you have a favorite book that you love to encourage people to read or just share with people, or you think that they will like, don't be afraid to do that. It's a great thing. So, like, if I was buying a book for somebody right now, there are definitely ones that I would immediately go to. I love recommending My Beloved The Secret Lives of Church Ladies, Night of the Living Res. I feel like I've been on an Edna Ferber kick right now. Those are books that have meant something to me over recent years that I think a lot of other people would like. So I have gifted each of those books to other people. I've also gifted Hug Time, which is a children's book. You can kind of see it displayed. I'll go grab a copy of it in a moment. I'm actually giving it to my sister for her newborn baby this year. Actually, let me go grab it real quick. So I'm giving a copy of this to my sister because she had a baby this year. But these are really cute, fun gifts to give to adults or people who are graduating from high school or anything like that. So Hug Time in particular is just about a cat that goes around the world hugging different animals. And it's super cute. I also have gifted The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane to a lot of people. That is probably the book that I have gifted the most because, it's a children's book, but it's good for any age, and it's about love and life, and I think beautifully illustrated. And let me grab a copy of that as well since I'm talking about it. Here it is, The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane by Kate DiCamillo. Gorgeous illustrations in this book. So this is something that I have gifted to a lot of people. It has been pretty consistently a hit with a lot of those people because it's just a delightful book. And again, I think good for anyone at any age. And I think it means something to give someone a piece of yourself. It's like when cooking is a form of love, because if you cook for someone, you're showing them a little bit of your heritage, things like that. And so giving someone a book that you like is a really great and wonderful thing. And that is probably why this is the book that I gift to people the most, because I just love it. And a lot of people have not read it. So if you have a book that would be anything like that you would like to give to the book lover in your life, if they're anything like me, they will be extremely appreciative of that gesture and that you have shared something that has meant a lot to you with them. So that's it. Those are my gift ideas for the book lover in your life. If you have other thoughts or ideas, put them in the comment section. Let's kind of turn that into a resource for people. Other books that you love to gift to people, let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, I really appreciate your time. I will be back. Until next time, happy reading.